What's up, everybody? Today is July 13th, 2022. And today I'm going to share with you how you can fund deals without using your own money. That's right. That's right. I know a lot of you guys have been wondering about this. So I'm going to give you guys a few different options on how you can fund different deals without using your own cash and my experience using these deals and basically the pros and cons of each method. So before I begin, as always, make sure you can hear me okay. You can see me okay. Whether you're watching this live, you're watching the replay, let me know. Am I good? We all good? You can see here, you see the new merch, designed it myself. Pretty proud of it. Pretty proud of it. There's other merch I'm going to have. So yeah. So anyways, so here's the thing. Here is the thing. We are going to get started, and I want to make sure that everybody who's supposed to be in here is in here, because I know there's a few people. What the hell is Facebook doing? It's pissing me off. The few people in here that, or I'm waiting for, but you know what? Forget it. Let's just get rocking and rolling. All right. So let me actually get the group going so I can actually see if I have any questions or anything like that. But so far, I think we're okay. We good? We good? All right. So how did this all come about? Well, I have a piece of property that I am purchasing, or actually I just purchased, and it's in a tiny, tiny town, and it is a commercial property, vacant lot. Now, I do not know how quickly this will sell. I do know it will sell eventually. All land does. I know I will make money on this. I always do. However, I just don't know how quickly that will happen. Usually not a big deal, but I also got 2 or 3 other deals that are in the pipe that looks like they're about to be ready to be closed on. And a lot of these I'm doing self-closing anyways. I don't have the cash for all of them and be able to, run my business, pay bills, and all the other things. So what can I do? Do I do what I've done in the old past, pass on those deals, give them to somebody else, hide in a corner, shaking my boots? No, I'm an investor now. So I figure out solutions to these problems. And well, these are the problems that you're going to run into at some point if you haven't already. So buckle up. We're going to get started. Now, before we begin on the content, there's some prerequisites you got to understand. Number one, these concepts and these actions and everything I present today, it is not for the lazy folk. It ain't for the broke people who are looking for a quick handout or a quick fix. Everything that I talk to you about is going to require you to have some land investing knowledge, require you to have maybe at least one deal done, maybe, and being ready to present what you're going to do to other folks in various capacities. Are we all square with that? Okay, good. Now, what's the first one? Well, I'm glad you asked. The first thing you can do, and I'm surprised more people don't do this, borrow from friends and family. Why don't you guys borrow from friends and family? Well, I don't know. Now, there's a way to do this. What the hell is going on with Facebook? Undo. There's a way to do this. I don't know. I was trying to look at the question, see if I have a question, but Facebook's tripping. The way to do this is, number one, when you borrow from friends and family, you have to make sure that you actually borrow from somebody that you trust and that they trust you. That's going to be the most important thing. Because if there's no trust between you, it's going to make everything else that I talk about much more difficult. Now, depending on the investment you have in mind and the person that you're dealing with, you may not need the whole amount of the purchase price. You may need half of it, a quarter of it. Maybe it's most of it, maybe it's all of it. It just depends on the situation. So that will affect who you can actually ask for this. If it's a smaller amount, you can probably get it no problem from friends, if a friend, a sibling, something like that, right? Something they may have laying around or whatever it is. However, as the amount goes up, now you got to be a little bit more strategic with who you ask with the actual borrowing. Now, I can't tell you who's going to be in your life that you can ask from. It could be your parents. It really could be a sibling. It could be your best buddy. It could be a business partner, an uncle, aunt. I mean, there's a ton of people. So you have to figure that out. Now, a little bit of homework for you. Go ahead and write down 10 to 20 people that you think would actually be interested in helping you kickstart or accelerate your land investing career. Now, don't worry, this assignment, we'll come back to the assignment momentarily. Now, here's the thing. When you do this, you got to be careful, because the person that you are dealing with is going to dictate how you act, whether you realize it or not. Because if they're very impatient and antsy, and the property doesn't sell as quickly as you would like, or you thought it would, well, now they're going to be up on your ass like, hey, where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money? Now, that's only if you tell them what you're using it for. Again, if there's trust, you probably will tell them what's happening, but they're going to be very curious how this works, partly because they want to make sure they get their money back. But the other part, like, well, if this works, maybe I want to get into this. Maybe I want to learn these skills, or just give them more money to invest and start to, wet my beak a little bit. So again, you got to be very careful with who you ask for, because again, things don't work out as planned, and always plan for the worst case scenario. They might be on your ass. So my suggestion in this situation, tell them, hey, I'm looking to buy a property. I'm going to sell it in 30 to 60, 90 days, but it could take up to 6 months depending on what's happening. And when I do sell it, I might not be able to sell it for cash. I might have to have someone pay off in installments, and, let them know up front. And if you do that, most likely they'll be less likely to be antsy when things don't happen on the time frame that, you were hoping for. So here's the thing. When you do that though, and you do get someone that's kind of antsy, that nerve, or that, I don't know how to describe it, just that anxiousness really will rub off on on every interaction you have, anybody who's looking to buy from you, because that little desperation, that thirst for like a sale will come across, and people will smell that, and they will feel it on your phone conversations. And then because of that, they're going to be a lot more hesitant. They won't be able to verbalize why. They may not even realize what's happening consciously, but they'll start to pull away, because that thirsty, greedy used car salesman type of mentality will come out when you start to get desperate. So again, be very careful who you ask. But in general, because this is a friend or family, when you pay them back, that's it. There's no interest. There's not, well, depending on, you just pay them back, and that's it. For some of you, this might be the way to go. For others, you're like, no, I can't trust my family, or I don't want them to know what I'm up to. Cool. So that brings us to our second method, right? Invest for your friends and family. Now, this is going to be less about trust and more about how well you present yourself. So it's going to be similar to borrowing money from that buddy, that family member, whatever it is. But the person that's lending you this cash, they're in on the deal now. And they're either going to be in on the deal, or they're going to want repayment with interest. Either way. And it kind of works out to be the same type of deal. Now, when you come up to this person, you got to present it as an investment opportunity. This isn't just, hey, I need to borrow some money for whatever. Like, hey, look, I got this deal that's coming up. I would like to cut you in on this deal. And this is what the buy-in is. This is what the payout will be. This is the expected time frame. How do I know that? Because, well, look at the comps, right? So you're going to have to present everything in a way. Basically, if you watch the show Shark Tank, imagine that you're walking in front of the sharks and you want them to invest in your company. So you got to give them all the things they want to know: numbers, time frame, maybe your past experience. Just this different things that somebody that's looking to invest in a company is going to ask. I mean, put yourself in their shoes. This is your hard-earned cash. You may not have a ton of it laying around. You do have some for investment, but not a ton of it. Do you just want to give it to anybody without asking certain questions, without doing your due diligence? Well, just anticipate that's what's going to be asked of you. And when you're able to give those answers, and you can do it with confidence and certainty and clarity, you don't confuse anybody, well, you're more likely to get that investment that you're looking for. All right. So here's the thing. When you actually do borrow from people like in this way, you can do one of two options that I've seen. Maybe there's more, but one is obviously the lump sum. And usually that lump sum is whatever that you borrow plus an interest. So let's just say you borrow, I don't know, $1,000. You said, I'll give you 20% interest. Well, now you're repaying them $1,200. It could be just one lump sum like that. Or it can be, hey, I'm going to pay you a little bit every month, with interest built in. So by the time that the payment term is done, they'll have made, the $1,200 and then some. Now, when you do this, though, the way to present this is, as I said, like an investment opportunity, and you got to let them see exactly what they're investing in, show them some pictures, things like that, show them some comps, show them all that. Like I said, go that Shark Tank route, and let them remind them, like, look, you're probably investing in stocks right now. What's the annual stock return? 8%, 10%? Well, nowadays it's like 4%, 5% with the economy the way it is. Or you're like, hey, you got a 401k, right? what's the annual return on that? You're like, oh, they're like, I don't know. I will look. Yeah, it's probably like 3%. They're like, well, why invest your money with them when you can invest with me? Now, the people you ask, again, friends and family, but it could be more acquaintances now, business associates. You don't have to have a personal relationship with these people. You just need to have enough of a relationship where you feel comfortable asking for an investment. At the same time, again, the less you know them, the more on top of your game you're going to have to be. Now, if you're around on Facebook all the time, posting weird political things or other stuff like that, you ain't gonna get no one gonna buy into you because they don't believe that you're going to stay committed to the process. However, if they see you, especially people who don't know you that well, and you're clean cut, you're on the up and up, you seem like you're about that business, you're more likely to get the benefit of the doubt. You present them with a great presentation. Bingo, bango, you got your investment money, you're able to invest, and none of your money is being used. It's all the investors' money. And if you think about it, that initial amount plus the 20% interest or whatever you're going to charge or however you guys work that out is going to be better than a lot of different scenarios because you're still keeping 80%. 80, well, I guess it depends on the numbers work out, but in general, it's a good way to go. And it's a good way to scale your business and to get other people involved, especially if you actually want family members and friends to learn his skills with you. Having them actually see the fun side, basically the payoff, is a good way to help them want to get inside the business and actually be like, hey, let me help you with your business, or let me do it myself and we can do this together. So far, is that making sense? Are we good? I can't see any questions or comments right now, unfortunately, because Facebook is being an ass, but I'm going to assume everything is crystal clear and everything is great and you guys are having a great time. So I'm going to keep moving on. Now, here's the thing. There is a third way to do this. And now we're getting away from comfortable, familiar people and situations and more professional types of things that we can do. Now, the third way is using like business lending credit. And what do I mean by that? Well, you can find these companies all over the net. You know, you have things like PayPal, Lending Tree, Cabbage, or hell, an SBA loan from the U.S. government. So that's a small business loan from the government. Now, with these things, sometimes when they work out right, you can get your money wired to your checking account in a couple of days. It's pretty simple. Sometimes the payment schedule or the repayment schedule is pretty lenient. Sometimes it's monthly payments and you're doing, just a small portion of the loan. Sometimes it's interest only payments. But then if you're doing interest only, you might have to have a large lump sum of like, okay, this is the initial amount I borrowed by the end of the year or whatever the time period is. Now, the only thing there's an exception that PayPal, they're really weird about it. They'll give you money quickly, but they want payments weekly. And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Now, maybe for certain businesses, that will be okay. But for land, no, because everything happens in monthly types of turnaround. Now, sure, there are times where you have a buyer and a seller lined up and, you want to make sure you don't get cut out of the deal. So you buy the property first in case that seller runs. You're like, hey, you know what? I can take the risk. But in general, I do not recommend a weekly payment schedule because if you had the money weekly, then you wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. So PayPal, I don't know what you're thinking, but there's different companies that do something similar. So don't just look at PayPal or Cabbage or whatever. There's a ton. Just Google it. Now, here's the thing. All the loans that you get from these companies, the interest payment is going to be much less than a credit card. And unlike a credit card, you're going to actually have cash that you can actually use to buy property. You can't use a credit card for property because you need cash. Even if you get a cash advance from your credit card, the interest payment is going to be absolutely insane. And two, they don't give you the full amount. You can get like $1,500, $1,000. And that's if your credit card like supports or has a limit like $30,000 or something like that. So yeah, it's going to be much better terms than a credit card, but it's going to be as quick, almost as quick and as easy as using a credit card. Now, there's some downsides to this as well. So first, it's very easy to get denied because people are actually looking to, these companies, they're looking to protect their money, right? They don't know you from Adam. So why should they trust you? And a lot of them don't know about land investing. So they don't have any models to kind of base off like, okay, their risk analysis and things like that off of. So they're like, all right, I don't know if I can trust this guy, right? And if your credit score ain't great and all that, they'll deny you and they'll do it quickly. I mean, it's not that big a deal, but just saying, you can't necessarily count on this if you haven't used this type of credit before. Now, not always. Some people are very lenient, but their repayment schedule is going to be a little bit more aggressive. It just depends on the company. Most times, you're going to need an EIN number. So that's basically a social security number for a business. Now, if you have an LLC, even if it's a single member LLC, you'll get an EIN number. And so you can use that. If you don't have an EIN number, you have a regular social security number. I don't know if they will allow that. I guess it depends on the company. So you'll have to look into that. If you don't have a business account with a bank, this may be tough to do because again, this is business credit. This ain't just, I'm gonna give you money so you can buy some Rams, right? Like they don't know what you're going to do with the money. They just want to make sure they get their money back and get repaid. That's how these banks and these businesses get paid. Let's see. Oh, sometimes they will check your credit. It will get it look like a ding on your credit score. And if you do this to a bunch of companies, you know, it's a bunch of dings that doesn't look good for your credit score if you care about that. Most of us with our businesses, we don't have business credit as in like, it's the business that gets dinged. It's personal credit. We are personally liable for those things. Even though we have an LLC and things like that, it's still our names with that goes on with the credit. It's not the business. So it takes time to build business credit. There are certain steps that you got to do that. And most of us don't do that. So your credit score will get dinged. Let's see, what else do I have written here? Sometimes, this is super rare, but just be aware of it. There is prepayment penalties, meaning if let's just say you borrow $5,000, yeah, probably a lot of times the minimums are more than the minimums are usually like $50,000, $100,000. But let's just say you borrow $50,000, you right away flip that to 100K. You repay the loan, depending on the company or the terms, it might be a prepayment penalty where they're hoping to get the milk out the payments from you to get interest, to get more from you at the, you know, by the end of the payment schedule. That prepayment means like, oh shit, we didn't get what we wanted. So we're going to basically try to get money from you another way with the prepayment penalty. Again, it's more rare these days, but it's something that you should look out for and ask about that if you are looking for these types of things. Like the SBA loan, you're not going to get that. Many companies don't do a prepayment, but just be aware. And also, if you do not repay the loan, you're going to be in hella trouble. So some places, it's interest-only payments until you do the lump sum at the end, like I said before. Others, you're paying part of principal, part of interest. But if you do not pay, especially if those interest-only payments and you're paying a lump sum, they're going to come after you. They ain't playing with their money, especially if it's $50,000, $100,000, whatever it is. So you really got to make sure that it's going to pay off. Now, if you're doing this land business right, you're doing it the way I show you, you won't have an issue. You might have some close calls, but you do it right, you're going to have profitable properties every time, and you're going to sell it pretty quickly, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you're doing it other ways, you're trying to cobble together information from different people, you're fucked. You ain't going to do it right. I mean, come on, just listen to one person, me, and then get it done properly. All right. Yeah, so I think that's it for the business one. Moving on. Here's another option. Number 4, getting a land funder. I have Reed Kurtenbach in this group, but there's many others just like him. This person probably knows the land game, and that's a benefit for you because now you got to kind of JVing on a deal in a sense. Now, in general, the way this works is if you do have a land funder, they're going to pay for the whole property. But when you do everything, you got to do things by the book. That means you got to go through a title company. You're not going to be able to self-close like the way I show you. You got to have to show them a lot of comps and talk to different brokers so they feel very confident in lending the money to you or getting in a deal with you, especially if this is your first deal with them. And in many cases, if you don't sell that property within 1 year, which is extremely long time, I can't imagine that happening. But if it does happen, well, there's a clause in the contract that you guys both sign as you guys join this agreement. They're going to take full control of the property and you're cut out completely because you didn't do your end of the bargain of selling the property. Now, a lot of things that happen with these people are great because they have a lot of contacts in the business world or the lending world or with real estate agents, with brokers and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it can really help in your deals. But again, that's why they got to do things by the book. Now, here's the thing. The downside is because you got to do things by the book, as I mentioned, a lot of things take a lot longer because they have to make sure that their money is going to be well protected. You have to understand a lot of these land funders, this is their money, or maybe they're investing on behalf of a bunch of people and they're finding different deals for them to put their money into. So they can't be willy-nilly with their money. With that said, it's still annoying as hell with all these things you got to do and the hoops you got to jump through just to have someone else jump on a deal where you're doing all the work. So that's something to worry about. Now, next, the revenue split. It's not like borrowing or getting money from friends and family and just giving them like an extra 20% on top of what they lent you. It's similar where they will get their money back. And then depending on the terms, it's going to be a larger chunk 45, 55, where they get 45, you get 55. And that's after the split. So this is how it works. Let's just say you bought a property, let's just say for $5,000. And usually you don't do a funder for this small amount of money, but some funders will do it. And let's say you sold it for, I don't know, 12,000. Okay. Well, obviously they're going to get their $5,000 back. Now what's left? $7,000. Now you're going to split that $7,000 between the two of you at the ratio that you guys said. So this is 45, 55. What are you getting, like $4,000? They're getting an extra $4,000, whatever it is. So they're coming away with the lion's share of the actual profit, while you're coming with like very little of it. Now, on one hand, you didn't have to put any money into the deal except for any advertising you may have paid for or things like that. Obviously, your bills to keep the lights on. So you don't have much in it. It is quote unquote free money. But on the other hand, seeing all that money, you see this like $12,000, and then you get this measly little crumb, this little morsel. It could be tough. It could be tough. So if you are going to go this route, I suggest you actually look at it as glass half full, meaning, hey, man, I just generated something out of nothing. And without this funder, I wouldn't be able to do this deal, period. So it may not have been as much as was on the table, but the fact that I was able to do this deal, get more experience, build more trust with this person is a great first step. And the good news is once you build a relationship with that funder, now you can actually play with the different margins, the different allocations after they get their initial investment back. So it doesn't always got to be 55, 45. It may be 30, 70. It may be 20, 80. So it's not too different than lending from friends and family, except now you got a person who knows the land game. And because they know the land game, they can help with marketing. They can give advice. They can help find brokers. They can do all the things that you may want because they understand. And here's the most important thing. Unlike friends and family, they're not going to be up your ass if things don't sell right away. They may, push and probably, hey, what's going on? Just getting a status update. But because they know the game and they know how things can take time, they don't sweat you. It makes things much easier, makes things much calmer. So it's like more like a true partnership. Cool. So far, so good. You guys getting this? It's making sense? Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, we're almost done here. We got two more. These are actually little extra ones that I thought about as I was writing this up. So number 5, a bank loan. Now, honestly, these are for giant deals. I have not gotten a bank loan, but I'm including this because I know this exists. When you're dealing with properties, multi-million-dollar properties, large acreage, you're going to do you're going to subdivide things up. Getting ready for developers, things like that, or being in with developers. A bank is actually a valuable option. For most of us, this will never work because banks, from what I understand, now, if you know any different, please correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, banks don't like lending money for people looking to buy vacant land. Why? Well, just like most people, they don't know what to do with it if the person defaults. Like with the house, they know what to do with that because it's easy. They can auction, they can sell it. They're used to using houses. With land, most people in that industry, they will want something on it or somebody that's going to build on it. And if they don't have that lined up, they're not very confident because houses can easily appreciate. Hell, you don't got to do much, but like redo the bathroom and the kitchen, the house appreciates. That doesn't work with land. The whole area has to appreciate for that land value to go up. And that takes a long time. Banks don't want that money in land for a long time. They want it quickly. So in general, banks don't lend money unless it's a giant deal. There's different plans to build on and all these things that they can leverage as things go south. But I just want to put that out there because most of us, we won't do it. Maybe you will get to a point where you are doing these giant deals and a bank will be a valuable option. So there's that. But yeah, you just got to be a big player in the game for that to be an option. And the last one, double closing. Now, this ain't no wholesaling BS. I'm not a big fan of wholesaling, right? Wholesaling is getting illegal. A lot of people say they're investing and they're not really investing. They're just trying to be the middleman. Too easy to get cut out the deal. You have no leverage. You bring nothing to the table. I can go on and on and on, but this ain't wholesaling. Double closing is a little bit different. To do this, you're going to need to have a buyer that you know and trust, and they know and trust you more importantly, because what's going to happen is they're going to pay for property that you're negotiating on. So I'm talking to a seller, hey, Mr. Prospect, please sell me your property. And yeah, I think I'll sell to you. And I'm like, okay, this is the price range I'm thinking about. And they're like, okay. So then you go to your buyer, like, hey, man, I'm about to buy this property. I think I'll sell it to you for, you say 2 times or whatever it is, whatever you feel is good for your buyer and it's going to help facilitate the deal. You're like, okay, great. I'm like, all right, great. Let's do the contract and boom, boom, boom. They give you the money, you use that money to actually pay for the property in advance, right? And then because you're dealing with that, you want to send a mobile notary or something like that. You don't want to wait for title company and all that. Send a mobile notary, self-close it, make it happen quickly. Then you'll have a deed signed and notarized from the seller. You create a deed, sign it, you get it signed and notarized, you send them both to the county. Make sure that the recorded one, the one that you bought the property with is recorded first, and then they'll use the other one to record second. Boom, no money out of your pocket. You got paid as if you bought it with your money, and everybody's happy. The seller's happy, the buyer's happy, you're happy. What else you can do is, if you need to go to a title company, some title companies are okay with double closing. You got to tell them that's the plan, and they'll do the paperwork fine, and they don't charge you for 2 different closings. They just do it all at one transaction. It makes things easier. Not all title companies do this. I think that is it for that. Am I forgetting anything? Let me look at my notes. No, I think we're good. So to recap, we got the 6 different ways that you can do this. Borrowing money from friends and family, just get it, pay them back when you can. Invest for your friends and family. You let them know what the deal is, you present it to them, they give you money. After the deal goes through and you sell the property, they get their cash back plus whatever percentage that you guys agreed upon. You can use business or lending credit like PayPal or Cabbage or SBA loan, something like that, where you repay it, but it's small, the interest payments is small, things like that. You can get a land funder. They know the game. You kind of JV on a deal. You get a bank loan. Those are for the big players only, not for you, my friend. And double closing. Any questions? Again, Facebook's still tripping, so I don't even know if you guys are asking questions or not. But with that said, I want this to be clear. No matter what you are going through, you have a deal on the table and you're afraid that you can't afford it or it's too tight to your maximum budget, there is always a way to make the deals work. No, don't let the people in the media scare you about the economy and shit like that. There's always money going around. Always. Always. It's up to you to want to step into that stream of money and use some of it to grow it and invest it and make it more abundant for you and your loved ones. It's up to you. If you listen to the economy and the news and people who don't got no money or no skin in the game, of course, everything's gloom and doom. It's not the case. Now, sure, things may be harder to come by. Doesn't mean it's impossible. All right. Now, here's the thing. I keep saying, here's the thing. You guys notice that? I need to stop doing that. When you do this, you understand that nobody's going to lend you money if you're a newbie, you haven't done this before, or your track record is terrible. So this, as I said before, this ain't for the lazy person. This ain't for the brand newbie. This is for somebody who has at least 1 or 2 deals under their belt. And all of these options will become more valuable because now people know and they trust you because they've seen you do it. They've seen you put in the work. And you may have to put a little presentation together, even for someone just borrowing money and it's not no interest or nothing like that. Like, hey man, your money's gonna be in good shape. I'm going to take care of it. Right? Maybe you gotta do that. But either way, most people are going to know, what are you using that money for? And if you're not prepared to show them how you're going to use it and why this is a good investment, they're not going to give you their hard-earned cash. Would you, if you're in that situation? Probably not. All right. So let me give you guys a secret. In my coaching group, we help each other fund deals. It happens often now. Before, it was just a little outlier thing, but now it happens often. And because we all know that we're working from the same template and we all have the same backing and coaching, people are very confident in lending each other cash, especially when they're going to wet their beak in the deal. Now, are you having trouble funding deals? Are you looking like hey, man, I want to get into something like that? Well, maybe we should have a phone call and see if joining my coaching program would be something that's beneficial for you. Depending on what you're looking for, this could be it. Now, obviously, it's not easy. Again, my coaching group ain't for the lazy. It ain't for the interested. It's only for the committed. Because those who are interested, they flame out quickly. Those who are committed, they make money. Soon I'll start giving you guys a little bit more case studies and things like that from group members, not just for myself. So that way, it ain't just me. Anybody can learn these skills if you're committed, but you got to be committed to the process. Either way, I'll put my link somewhere where you guys can book a call with me if you're interested in learning more about my coaching program, how funding deals work, things like that. But other than that, hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. I enjoyed talking about this. And there'll be more about this topic sooner or later. But in the meantime, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Peace out.